Hi, my name is Camille, and I will be reading Job 29 to 31 from the Complete Jewish Bible on this week 31, day 5. As Job recounts his former life and laments his current state, we're invited to reflect on our own journey. What does it mean to walk with integrity, like Job, in a world where suffering often seems unfair? May we, like Job, clasp our innocence and cry out to God, trusting that He sees and knows our hearts. Let us prepare to encounter God's presence, as Job does, with a mix of humility and boldness. Shalom. Job 29. Ayov went on speaking. I wish I were as in the old days, back in the times when God watched over me, when his lamp shone over my head, and I walked through the dark by its light. As I was when I was young, and God's counsel graced my tent. Then Shaddai was still with me, my children were around me, my steps were awash in butter, and the rocks poured out for the streams of olive oil. I would go out to the city gate and set up my seat in the open space. When young men saw me, they would hide themselves, while the aged arose and stood. Leaders refrained from speaking. They would lay their hands on their mouths. The voices of nobles were silenced. Their tongues stuck to their palates. Any ear that heard me blessed me. Any eye that saw me gave witness to me. For I delivered the poor when they cried for assistance, the orphan too who had no one to help him. Those who had been about to die would bless me, and I made widows sing in their hearts for joy. I clothed myself with righteousness, and it clothed itself with me. My justice was like a robe and a crown. I was eyes for the blind, and I was feet for the lame. I was a father to the needy, and I investigated the problems of those I didn't know. I broke the jaws of the unrighteous and snatched prey from his teeth. I said, I will die with my nest, and I will live as long as a phoenix. My root will spread till it reaches water, and dew will stay all night on my branch. My glory will always be fresh, my bow always new in my hand. People would listen to me. They waited and were silent when I gave advice. After I spoke, they didn't talk back. My words were like drops of dew on them. They waited for me as if for rain, as if for spring rain, with their mouths open wide. When I joked with them, they couldn't believe it, and they never darkened the light on my face. I chose their way for them, sitting as chief. I lived like a king in the army, like one who comforts mourners. Job 30. But no, those younger than I hold me in derision, men whose fathers I wouldn't even have put with the dogs that guarded my sheep. What use to me was the strength in their hands. All their vigor had left them, worn out by want and hunger. They gnawed the dry ground in the gloom of waste and desolation. They pluck saltwort and bitter leaves. These, with broom tree roots, are their food. They are driven away from society with men shouting after them as after a thief. To live in gullies and wadis, in holes in the ground and caves in the rocks. Among the bushes they howl like beasts and huddle among the nettles. Irresponsible nobodies, driven from the land. No, I have become their song. Yes, I am a byword with them. They loathe me. They stand aloof from me. They don't hesitate to spit in my face. For God has loosened my bowstring and humbled me. They throw off restraint in my presence. At my right, the street urchins attack, pushing me from place to place, besieging me with their ways of destruction, breaking up my path, furthering my calamity, even those who have no one to help them. They move in as though a wide gap. Amid the ruin, they roll on in waves. Terrors tumble over me, chasing my honor away like the wind. My hope of salvation passes like a cloud. So now my life is ebbing away. Days of grief have seized me. At night, pain pierces me to the bone so that I never rest. My clothes are disfigured by the force of my disease. They choke me like the color of my coat. God has thrown me into the mud. I have become like dust and ashes. I call out to you, God, but you don't answer me. I stand up to plead, but you just look at me. You have turned cruelly against me. With my powerful hand, you keep persecuting me. You snatched me up on the wind and made me ride it. You toss me about in the tempest. For I know that you will bring me to death, the house assigned to everyone living. Surely God wouldn't strike at a ruin. If in one's calamity one cried out to him for help, didn't I weep for those who were in trouble? Didn't I grieve for the needy? Yet when I hoped for good, what came was bad. When I expected light, what came was darkness. My insides are in turmoil, they can't find rest. Days of misery confront me. I go about in sunless gloom. I rise in the assembly and cry for help. I have become a brother to jackals and a companion of ostriches. My skin is black and falling off me, and my bones are burning with heat. So my lyre is tuned for mourning, my pipe to the voice of those who weep. Job 31. I made a covenant with my eyes, not to let them lust after any girl. What share does God give from above? What is a heritage from Shaddai on high? Isn't it calamity to the unrighteous, disaster to those who do evil? Doesn't he see my ways and count all my steps? If I have gone along with falsehood, if my feet have hurried to deceit, then let me be weighed on an honest scale, so that God will know my integrity. If my steps have wandered from the way, if my heart has followed my eyes, if the least dirt has stuck to my hands, then let me sow and someone else eat. Let what grows from my fields be uprooted. If my heart has been enticed toward a woman, and I have lain in wait at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind for another man, and let others kneel on her. For that would be a heinous act, a criminal offense, a fire that would burn to the depths of Abaddon, uprooting all I produce. If I ever rejected my slave or a slave girl's cause when they brought legal action against me, then what would I do if God stood up? Were he to intervene, what answer could I give? Didn't he who made me in the womb make them too? Didn't the same one shape us both before our birth? If I held back anything needed by the poor, or made a widow's eye grow dim with tears, or ate any portion of food by myself without letting the orphan eat any of it, no, from my youth he grew up with me as if with a father, and I have been her guide from my mother's womb. Or if I saw a traveler needing clothing, someone in need who had no covering, who didn't bless me from his heart for being warm with the fleece from my sheep, or if I lifted my hand against an orphan, knowing that no one would dare charge me in court, then let my arm fall from its socket, and let my forearm be broken at the elbow. For calamity from God has always terrified me. Before His Majesty, I could never do a thing like that. If I made gold my hope, if I said to find gold, you are my security, if I took joy in my great wealth, in my having acquired so much, or if on seeing the shining sun or the full moon as it moved through the sky, my heart was secretly seduced so that I would wave them a kiss with my hand, then this too would be a criminal offense, for I would have been lying on God on high. Did I rejoice at the destruction of him who hated me? Was I filled with glee when disaster overtook me? No, I did not allow my mouth to sin by asking for his life with a curse. Was there anyone in my tent who didn't say, no one can find a single person whom he has not filled with his meat? No stranger had to sleep in the street. I kept my house open to the traveler. If I concealed my sins, as most people do, by hiding my wrongdoing in my heart from fear of general gossip or dread of some family's contempt, keeping silent and not going outdoors, I wish I had someone who would listen to me. Here's my signature. Let Shaddai answer me. I wish I had the indictment my adversary has written. I would carry it on my shoulder. I'd bind it on me like a crown. I would declare to him every one of my steps. I would approach him like a prince. If my land cried out against me, if its furrows wept together, if I ate its produce without pain or made its owners despair, then let thistles grow instead of wheat and noxious weeds instead of barley. The words of Ayov are finished.